Joining us now, she is the head coach at Tulsa. Of course, has been the head coach since 2020 entering her sixth season, but she's been a Tulsa lifer, really going back to 2002 as a player. She's been an assistant, an associate head coach, has been a part of 10 NCAA tournaments, 6 conference championships during her time at Tulsa. I speak of Crissy Strimple joining us here on In the Circle on D1 Softball. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. And quite honestly, this is like the downtime of year. So anytime I get to talk about softball with somebody else, we'll do it. I'll do it all day.
All right, I'm appreciative of that. I mentioned that you're a lifer at Tulsa. You were a player there. Describe your journey to getting to Tulsa. First as a player, and then on the coaching staff. You were a long time on the staff with Coach Barfield, and then you took over for him. I mean, what has this journey been like for you? I mean, because you are. I mean, you've got Tulsa blood.
Yeah, Oklahoma in general is home for me. I mean, I grew up in Oklahoma City, and so, funny enough, my first letter recruiting from Tulsa was for basketball. I don't know if that coach actually saw that I was 5'5" with an average jump shot, but that was probably the first time that I was ever, aware as a kid of like, okay, college dreams just not going to be on the court. It's going to be on the diamond for sure. But just thankful to be here, to come back full circle, from a student athlete to an assistant coach to an associate head coach. Um, and just thankful for my time being able to be around John Bargefelt, and then now them entrusting the program with me and being here. And I kind of joke about it, but it's honest. There's probably not an alumni that I don't know, whether they were here just a few years before me, or I played with those girls, or got to coach them. And so I just TU's home to me. I love the support that you get at Tulsa from the administration. I love the fact that everybody. I mean, the president comes to our games. We just got a new athletic director, but he's got baseball in his blood, and so I know he's excited to get out there in the spring and watch us play. And it's just a really neat university to not only have played for, but to work with. And I think you can do big things. I mean, Oklahoma's a softball state. We all know that. Um, and so you've got two really good schools in it, but there's just a lot of talent here on all levels, from high school to different colleges, different universities, D2s around the state. It's just a great place to be in this profession.
Was coaching always in the plans?
I had thought at one point, I always knew I wanted to stay in the sport. I always knew that being in the sport or being with sports somehow was going to be what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I actually played for Jamie Pinkerton, who's at Iowa State,
Yeah.
and he gave me my first opportunity at the University of Arkansas to be a grad assistant there. That's really when I got my first taste of coaching, being around the player and being on it from that side of it and that perspective. And just learned a lot in my time there. But once I started doing that, I just knew that this was going to be something I wanted to do for as long as I can.
What's the difference between being a head coach and being the associate head coach? What have you learned from having gone through that transition?
um well, I mean, first of all, what a wild time to become a head coach, like I always joke about it, but 2020 was like, oh, it was like a spring training. I went through spring training because we played, I think, all of like 20 games, that season. I mean, everybody did, but just a wild time to be in it. And I learned a lot really fast. As far the more so on the administration side of it. And when you're an assistant coach and an associate head coach, I mean, you're throwing your ideas out there and like, hey, I would do it like this. I would handle it like this. And at the end of the day, the head coach is the one that's got to make the final decisions. And, you can always sit back as an assistant and give your ideas and say, hey, I would have done it this way. But the buck stops with you right now. So it's been fun. It's been a great place to transition into that role with Tulsa. And again, this is kind of a dream come true, right? To be in this position and where I've always wanted to be. People ask me, "What's your dream job?" Well, I'm in it. I'm where I've always wanted to be, and so I don't really envision myself being anywhere else than Tulsa.
Last year, you went 30 and 23. You were in the conversation for the NCAA tournament. Perhaps a deeper run in the conference tournament gets you there. We'll never know. When you reflect on last year, what comes to your mind?
You know, and everybody will say this. Um, everybody had teams last year with, 10 seniors. I think we probably played at three different places that were celebrating their seniors, and people were, like honoring 10 different athletes that have played through. And so it was like your COVID kids, your big roster kids, were all last year. And I felt that way, through even our conference. One of the things that I thought was going to give us challenge, and it ended up kind of biting us, in the end, was that we were going to have to go in conference, and we were going to have to play Charlotte on the road. We were going to have to play North Texas on the road. We had FAU on the road. We had Wichita State on the road. And I knew those were going to be the tough games. I knew it was going to come down to those games. And as our conference got bigger, you got to be consistent. I mean, that was the thing. You got to be able to win on the road as our conference got bigger, and that was something that we just didn't do well last year. When I think about it, we were just a part of a lot of one-run games that we were on the other side of. But those girls played their hearts out last year. I mean, some of them were literally just having career years at the plate with Amani Edwards and Mackenzie Denson. We've always relied on Haley Morgan. Just had some seniors that were. Abby Jones came back for her senior year and had a fantastic year. And so it was so nice to be around those girls. It's nice to know who you're going to write in the lineup every day. And then just to see those players have fantastic finishes to their careers, which has always been the goal of, I think, any coach. But knowing that your players are going to have a better year than they did their freshman year, and just keep improving throughout your program. And so it's just really cool to see all those girls just be just super threats at the plate.
It felt like for those seniors, it was kind of a carryover from the second half of 23. I remember following you. You played some of your best softball in the second half of the year, made that great run in Tampa where I was at to get to that championship game. You knocked off Houston, you knocked off Wichita State, which was flirting that year with hosting. And then, obviously ran into UCF, but then that seemed to carry over. Is that accurate? That seemed to carry over to the following year, at least for the veterans there. Like I said, you were in the mix for the NCAA tournament. You were on that bubble talk most of the year. You were in the mix for the conference title for most of the regular season run there.
Yeah, I think, they had a lot of belief in themselves come 2023. And a lot of that was once we established, that starting nine, those girls really took off. And that has to happen. I think it's hard to play where you're constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering, who's going to be in the lineup. But once those girls got so confident and comfortable, we really just kind of like took off. Our pitchers got into a spot where we weren't playing so many games, and we kind of relied on two pitchers that year between Mara Moore and Kylie Nash. And, last year we didn't have to do that as much, but they just got a lot of confidence and felt like they had some, unfinished business. And, so when we came back in 2024, I thought we hit the ground running. I thought we played some good games, and we ran up against Texas A&M right away the first weekend, and kind of learned, hey, that's 70 miles an hour from the left side, coming at you. But it just kind of set us up, for the entire year. We had some big games, we had some close games. We were able to knock off Oklahoma State at home. That was a big win for us. I just, there are some other teams that were playing really well too in our conference. And I don't know, just from talking to people during the summer, like I just kind of feel like maybe our conference didn't get the notoriety it should have last year. I mean, my goodness, Charlotte, fantastic year. FAU, fantastic year. Wichita State, with the injuries that they had, still were just grinding through and giving themselves a chance. North Texas, probably wasn't a true bubble team last year, but they could beat anybody. They had weapons, and they had players, that could shut you down from the mound. And so I mean, I kind of envisioned our conference last year as maybe a top 5 conference. But it's hard. You've got to play the tough competition. You got to play the important games in the midweeks. And, maybe that's where it got us a little bit, but it was a fun year. Didn't end the way we wanted it to. But still really cool to see those girls have some, just storied careers for themselves and go out the way that they wanted to. We didn't get into the postseason. That was something that was a big goal of ours. We talked about it a lot. We talked about it often. I mean, they knew. But just to see some of them finish their careers on a great note, was cool to see as a coach. If you're finding the silver lining, that was really cool to see as a coach because they were just some outstanding humans. Got big degrees here at Tulsa and are just going to do fantastic things throughout the rest of their lives. So just excited to have coached those ladies.
So now you enter with a younger roster this year. You mentioned you got to replace 10 seater. That's a big number. You're not alone, though, to your point, replacing a lot of veterans there. It seems like it's the story around across the sport this year. Might be a younger sport this year because everybody's replacing so many players. But how did the fall go, and how do you feel about this younger group?
Yeah, I mean the fall was good. We got what we needed out of it. I mean, we played four Division Ones, in the this fall with Oklahoma State. We played Arkansas. We played UCA. I mean, we went at it to show some of these younger girls what it's like, at this level. We had some great days and we had some bumps, and so but that needed to happen. They needed to see how fast this game can play at this level, from coming over from maybe some of their travel teams. We are young, but we're not as young as what I think most people think. We're not as young as what most people think in the pitching circle, which I think is a big deal. I would be a little bit more nervous if we didn't have experience in the circle, but we do. We do have some girls coming back. We're going to be led by Mara Moore. She's going to be in her senior year, but she's pitched a lot of innings for us and has done a fantastic job. We actually had to play this fall without Clara Skaggs, all fall. We played this fall without Emma Vickery, all fall, who's coming back from, two injuries. We pretty much played this entire fall without Celeste Wood, dealing with some injuries. So those young girls got a lot of experience. I mean, at the end of the day, they got 80 innings. So I kind of told them, I said, it's like knighting somebody, like you're anointed, you're now a super freshman, whatever we want to call it. But I thought the fall was very valuable for us because a lot of players who had not played a lot of innings for us got 80 innings, this fall and got to be out there and see what it's like. It gives us a chance to go back and help them tweak, make some adjustments that maybe they feel like need to. And then you find out where your strengths and your weaknesses are as a team. And so the fall on that part of it was super valuable.
You mentioned Mara Moore. Speak of her. What makes her so good? I mean, ever since it's kind of been one of the faces of the program, really, since she's walked in, it seems like. She'll be leading this pitching staff, but she's not alone in that pitching staff.
No, I mean, the one thing that I will say about Mara Moore, and honestly, you would probably feel this way about any of your top athletes, is she is one of the most methodical pitchers as how she goes about her bullpen, what she expects out of herself in her bullpen. If she's got A, B, C to complete that day, she is going to do A and she is going to do A well. She's going to go move on to B. She's going to move on to, C, but she just does everything with a high level of efficiency, and she repeats it. She's not afraid to have a boring day, in the bullpen as far as I need to do this often. I got to do it every day, repetitious. But she can also challenge herself. She's oh, I got to get this pitch better. I know I need to work on this side of the plate, but she just has a really cool work ethic. And kind of a cool story. She didn't play a lot of high level travel ball. She was a 2 year kid that we kind of recruited a little bit late in the summer. Thankful that we did, but she's really cool to see because the evolution of her game just boom went straight uphill. And I think once she started focusing on pitching day in and day out, she had such a high ceiling that she was trying to get to. She's crafty. She's got stuff that jumps. She can take speed off of pitches. Just makes it really hard, on pitchers. But the other point in that is she's been voted as one of our captains. We have got four captains, and the players, voted Mara to be one of the team leaders, this year. And I think it just speaks to her drive, the fact that she wants to see others on a team get better. And she's kind of been that way in the bullpen by helping some of those girls kind of find out, how they want to be as pitchers and what their processes are going to look like. So just been happy to have her.
Who is she leading in the staff? Because obviously she's going to lead by example. Is she more of a vocal leader? What's her style of leadership?
She's probably more a little bit of both. I mean, she's the kid that is going to show up every day and give you everything she's got. So I definitely think she's got the lead by example, but she's also sometimes the kid that's going to get off the bus and just has to get like a quick yell out, like they used to joke with her. She'd always do some like bark before a game, but she just had to get this energy out. And so she's definitely vocal. And she's definitely vocal with her teammates and she's competitive, and so she's kind of both. I wouldn't say she's the loudest on our team by any means, but she's not afraid to speak up when something needs to be said, and we want more from our younger players, and which I think is great. I think it's great to get her out of her comfort zone because the players do look up to her and see what she's done in her 3 years here, and or 2 years, I should say, going on her third year, and want to have that success as well. She's been great for, our bullpen. We've got, Alexa Hopkins that honestly didn't get to pitch a lot for us last year, and not because she didn't deserve it. We just had a couple other girls in front of her that were doing well too. But, she's got some stuff that moves. I look for her to be, a big part of it. And she's a senior too. And she's excited to get the ball in her hand, and has never wavered um, on what she may or may not get the opportunity from last year. And then you got two other pitchers that have been in there with Brinley Maples, who's new to us this year, and Abby Hayes, that's new to us this year, and they've really come along. They've really developed their stuff. Brinley might be the hardest thrower, on our staff. So I'm just excited, for all five of them. Katie Dunnigan's a young freshman, so she's got some great people to learn from. But I think we're going to have a pretty unique bullpen this year.
Do you feel the staff will carry the offense early in the season as the offense figures itself out with so many young new faces on the offensive side, or how do you feel that playing out early in the season there? Because you mentioned it. I think a lot of coaches would rather have the inexperience on offense earlier in the year so they can figure it out than pitching. Pitching can always carry you a long
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, hitting's the one thing that I feel like all coaches are eager to see, come springtime. You want to know that the work that you put in the fall has paid off. And I don't think any coach can sit here and tell you that, oh, I'm not worried about my offense. I think everybody's eager to see, how their players are going to come back. Um, you know, and and what kind of level are they going to be, more of a power team, or we're going to be more of an executing team? So I think that'll definitely be a question that we have to answer. But to your point, it is a relief for a coach knowing that you've got some experienced pitchers that are going to come in there and be able to keep you in the ball games. You really want your pitchers to keep you under three, right? Like if you can keep you under three, then you're in every game and within striking distance every inning. That's kind of what we're going to look forward to. We're going to rely on them first, but hopefully everything will equal out between defense, between pitching, between hitting. We've put a lot of energy into hitting this fall, so hopefully it'll pay off when we come into the spring.
You mentioned some of the veteran players that didn't play in the fall that'll be contributing to your team once the season gets going offensively. Who are the new faces that you think will contribute offensively and defensively? And I mention that because when I think of Tulsa softball, I always think defense first. You guys you're always one of the best defensive teams in the conference. You've won championships because just as much for your defense as much as pitching or offense, and the fundamentals that come with that. So
Oh yeah.
who are some of the young players that you have to step into that role to replace some of the vets from last year?
I think I'll kind of like hit on a couple because we've got some players that were here but didn't get a lot of opportunities because they had somebody like a senior in front of them. So, I'm excited to see what Faith Russell will do this year, who's honestly, she led us in hitting this fall. I'm excited to see her. She's a redshirt sophomore. I'm excited to see Paige Knight, come here, and what kind of power will she provide, in our lineup. There's another girl that's been doing great this fall that's finally a senior and just been behind some players that were just having awesome careers, and that's Danny Burns. She's swung the bat, outstanding this fall. Um, a kid that I'm really excited about is an Annika Dill. She I put her in some positions this fall anyways to show that she's an RBI producer. She really had a nice fall, right-handed hitter. Excited to see what she's going to do as a freshman and start her career with Tulsa. But yeah, there's some really good young faces that I'm excited to see what they can do, how they handle the adjustments that pitchers will give to them, at this level. And I think just as you did with some of these younger players, just as we did with a Haley Morgan and Amani Edwards, you know, Mackenzie Denson, what's it going to be like, when it's their turn to go? I mean, now you're kind of back to the beginning with some of these young players and you're doing the same thing for them. So it's not foreign for me. It's definitely going to be new names that you're going to be writing in the lineup every day, but it's kind of, rejuvenated us as coaches. You're back to teaching mode. You're back to, reminders, and sometimes that's the best thing you can do for some of your upperclassmen is, this is why we do it this way, this is why it was important. So it's been a lot of teaching, it's been a lot of great conversations with some of these younger players and what they like, what they do well. But I do think there's going to be a lot of freshmen in our lineup that are going to get to start their careers and get to play quite a bit for us at Tulsa.
Do you have, and listen, there's only one Julia Hollingsworth, so I think it's unfair to say. Do you have a Hollingsworth on your roster? I mean, I covered her. I mean, she was so impressive. I'll never forget the 2018 conference tournament. She led off the tournament with a home run against Wichita, and off you were to winning that conference championship. So I'm not going to say it, phrase it that way, but I always thought she was an instigator for your team. Like she set the tone right away for your offense. Do you have that? Who's that player that's going to be the tone setter for your offense?
I think we'll get it out of I think we're going to get it out of like a few kids. It's hard to predict. Do you got a Jill Barrett? Do you got a Julia Hollingsworth? I don't know that we totally predicted those kids,
Yeah.
whenever we recruited them. But, you know, Macy Cole is another player that we kind of had playing in a position last year because she had to with some injuries, and she did a fantastic job for us. But I don't know that she got to show her full uh ability, as an athlete. And she's feisty as they come. She's probably the fastest, kid on our team. Even though she's a right-handed hitter, I'm excited to see what kind of senior year she's going to have, and she might hit at the top of her lineup. I'll probably, lead her off right away, the first weekend out. But, Clara Skaggs is somebody that expects a lot out of herself, and she's not going to be as fast around the bases as Julia Hollingsworth is, but she is every bit as competitive. I mean, and she's somebody that's really, really raised her level of play, ever since her freshman year. I'm excited to see her have her best year ever, as a senior. But I'm kind of excited to see some of these freshmen. There's just, there's so many ways that I feel like we can go as a team. Just need to find out who's going to be our best nine. When we step on when we get into conference play that fifth weekend out, who's going to be the best nine out there? What 12 to 14 kids deserve, those opportunities to maybe be a pinch hitter, provide a spark for us. But I I'm kind of excited to see how it morphs itself. But I do think, there's about three or four kids that are going to have some pretty impressive careers this year.
It sounds to me, is this one of your best freshman classes? It sounds like it. You sound excited about it. Every coach is always excited, but it seems like this one in particular, you feel that can contribute right away, and you're very confident in this group. Is that accurate?
They're definitely gonna have to. Yeah, I mean, I really am excited about all of them. I mean, honestly, honestly, I'm excited about this class and the 25 class that we signed behind them. But I just think it's a good pairing to come in with a lot of these returners. With yes, we're going to be young, but it's nice to know that you still have, a Celeste Wood, a Clara Skaggs. Paige Knight's played a lot of softball. Macy Cole's played a lot of softball. Faith Russell coming back, having Mara Moore in the circle, one of our kids that caught quite a bit last year, that ended up getting hurt, Emma Vickery, she played quite a bit for us her freshman year and then just got hurt, unfortunately, last year. I'm excited to see what kind of season she can have. Um, I don't want to forget because I know there's going to be a lot of players that I probably haven't spoken about, but, we got Whitney Holcomb's got a big time arm, that's going to play and be in our outfield. And so there's a lot of girls that are going to get a lot of opportunities early on. I am totally excited about this freshman class. I think it's a good mesh with the returners that we have coming back.
How do you feel about your defense right now? Obviously, there's position battles going on as we speak, I'm sure, going in the January and into the season. But do you feel pretty good about the versatility and being solid and backing your pitchers from a side? That's been vintage
Mhm.
Tulsa softball over the years. Do you feel that way even with the youth?
Yeah, I think we are going to have to figure out, where everybody's best position. One of the things that we've always done well at Tulsa is we've been very versatile. We've had players that could probably play three different positions if they had to, and this team is no different than that. I've got a young freshman catcher that um, caught a lot this fall, but she could also get out in the outfield and she'll run it down, and she's laying out for balls in the outfield, and so she could get out there. And Amber Turner, I think I've got a second baseman that can bounce out to the outfield if she needs to. So I would say that I have a pretty good idea about our infield, and I'm excited about them that they can make plays. Um, I think outfield will be the one area that we're gonna have to figure out where everybody's gonna play. Who's gonna be center field most often, who's gonna kind of lock down left field and right field, and so that'll be definitely something that will need to be answered in the first 3 weeks of the season. But it's not lack of athletes that can do it. It's just who's gonna show up, who's gonna hit from the plate, and who's gonna give us the best defense. Day in and day out, and maybe you end up having some late inning defensive replacements. We've kind of thrown that around in the office too, but it's been fun to talk about just with the new group like it is. But like you said, everybody's doing that right now. You got a lot of new faces in college softball this year, so that'll be one of the great storylines that I think this season.
Tell us a little bit about your staff and how they will complement each other, your coaching staff, and what their roles will be. Because nowadays, every coach has multiple different roles. It seems like depending on their situation. How would you describe your staff?
Yeah, I mean it's been a great staff. Like I think we all get along, and um, I'm somebody that's pretty serious on the softball field, but once you get me away from the softball field, I got kind of a squirrel's mind. I can go, so they can keep up with me. They keep me on track too sometimes, but I'll start with Brooke Smart, and we had to replace Sandra Owens. She decided to step away from coaching, and definitely somebody I'll miss because I've been around her for so long, and then I even coached her when she was at Arkansas. But I knew when Sandra decided that she wasn't going to coach anymore, I knew right away I wanted to go ask Brooke Smart if she wanted to come back and be a coach with us, and that was an easy answer for her. I mean, she was yes right away. She and I had coached together. She played at Tulsa also, and then she and I coached together for 4 years with John while he was here. And so there's a lot of familiarity there. And she kind of knows how I am. She knows how I work. But she knows the tradition and the history of Tulsa. She's been a winner everywhere she's been. And so I was just excited to have her come back, and she'll handle our outfield. She'll definitely lead our hitting, as we go. But just, excited to have her personality back. The players love her. She's a softball junkie, at the end of the day. And then Jessica Dreswick is a pitcher. Can't miss her. She's about 6'3", although I think she's going to tell you she's 6'2". But she's 6'3", so you can't miss her. And we always joke because she handles our pitching staff, and so she'll go out to the mound. And it's the only time that I ever get to be over 6 foot, because a lot of times on TV they'll say, "Oh, and head coach Crissy Strimple out to the mound." But she's got a great personality. She's definitely has done a great job with our pitchers, and just been happy to have her. And definitely, she challenges our pitching staff every day, and she could throw some BP still. She's still slinging up there about 67, 68 miles an hour when she wants to.
That's pretty good.
Uh, yeah, you got to have that. It takes a lot off my arm trying to throw a batting practice, but so it's been nice to have her. And then we have a GA that's with us, and Riley Keith, who also played at Tulsa, and she definitely helps out with our catching, and does a lot of like chart taking and things like that for us, and she knows how we operate. But I think we have a great group of coaches. I think we have great personalities that all seem to mesh really well.
How much of John Barfield is in you as a coach? How much did you
Oh,
take
I
out of him?
mean, I learned a lot from him. As far as, everybody asked me like, what made him so great? And I'm like, well, we could talk about the X's and O's. He knows them. He knows the X's and the O's. But he is probably the most patient man that I've ever been around, as far as allowing a player to go through the process. And, sometimes as coaches, you want it to happen quick, just as much as the player does. You want it to happen quick, and you want to see that light bulb, go off for the player. And so one of the things that I always kind of remind myself is, it's not a what would John do, but, uh, patience. If I learned anything from him, and I learned a lot, but patience. What doesn't happen today can be tomorrow, and we will get better. And so, uh, and I still talk to him, probably not as much as I should, but he only lives about an hour down the road from me. But um, I definitely enjoy talking to him, but probably when I get on the phone with him, we're on the phone for a couple hours. He's usually at the golf course, so I always appreciate it. He takes my calls while he's at the golf course. But you still bounce ideas off him. And I mean, it's just a great mentor, great resource to still have in your life, in your coaching life.
Didn't he like attend a game in the last year? I think I heard something like that where he went to
Oh
a
yeah,
game.
myself and Kieran Kumar, who's at Ohio
That's
State
right.
now. Those are probably the original three is what we kind of called ourselves. But I just got to be around them, and then 2K and I played against each other at our home tournament, and John got to come to the game. But honestly, he doesn't enjoy that as because he never liked to play against his buddies. He didn't like any kind of tension or things like that. He just wanted to um, enjoy the people that he's around and,
Sure.
and coach. So uh it was cool to see him there. He's definitely obviously when he was at Oklahoma State, he was on the other side, so that was a lot different. But it's just neat to still have somebody like that in somebody that you can contact when you need some advice.
No, that's good advice to a person to seek out. That's for sure. Um, Couple things: the Athletic Conference, two bid league could have been easily a 3 to 4 bid league last year. You mentioned it. You felt maybe the league didn't get the credit it deserved based on that last year. How do you feel about it this year among the coaches? What's been the chatter on that? Because again, you got FAU's the defending champs. You got you're in the mix. You've got teams like North Texas. What's the outlook?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be wide open. I think everybody has somebody, everybody's got a pitcher coming back. I think North Texas might be the deepest, pitching staff coming back, in our conference. Wichita State's going to put together a great team. They had some injuries, that they have coming back, this year. I mean, South Florida's got that lefty pitcher that makes it really, really challenging, on you. And she's going to get better and better. Kenny does a great job down there. I mean, what East Carolina was able to do last year. I mean, he's done a fantastic job. I'm excited to see Van at UTSA keep elevating her team. I think Trina Pill at Memphis is going to do a great job. She's very organized, does things well, and has been a winner. So I do think it's going to be a battle. I can't tell you who I think's going to come out on top, but it's all of us graduated so many players last year, so there's going to be a lot of new faces in the American. But I do think pitching is the one area where you're going to have a lot of returners come back, and then it'll be who's going to set themselves apart, offensively and be able to be the juggernaut, on that side of it. But it should be another exciting year. I'm happy that we have some of these teams coming to our place this year versus having to travel out to them. Um, but just the additions that we brought into the American softball wise has been awesome. I know the Charlotte coach, pretty well, and she's going to do a great job there. And so it's going to be an interesting season. I don't know that I could vote. We're going to vote here in a couple weeks on, who we think are going to be the top in the conference. And I think it'll be a lot. I think it's going to be all over the place. I don't think there'll be a unanimous number one. So, but makes for an exciting year, makes for an interesting year. And just ready to get going. Like I said, I've enjoyed being able to talk about softball today because this is that downtime. But it just gets you excited. I mean, I want spring to start tomorrow.
Well, I know this. The conference tournament will be in Tampa, and I would imagine if it couldn't be in Tulsa, maybe Tampa is the second best, your favorite second choice, considering you've won a conference championship on that field and played for another one. You've had success on that field, so that's got to be good to look forward to as well.
Well, I think everybody loves to get down to Florida, and South Florida does a great job with their tournaments. But yeah, you want to go someplace where you've been successful and have felt, what that moment has been like to walk away with the trophy. And yeah, I would love to have it back, back at Tulsa. Hopefully we'll have that here in a couple years. But I love the fact that we're taking all the teams. Everybody's going. I think that's important beyond an experience part of it. I think it just prepares you for, what regionals is going to be like. That's a battle. It's a short days and you got to have quick turnarounds and short memory. So, but I just I love the American. I love what we're doing as coaches. I think everybody that's coaching in this conference wants the best. They want to see us be one of those top tier conferences softball wise, and just got a great group of coaches that are going to lead these programs.
My last question to you: what's going to be a couple questions you're going to have in your mind that you're looking forward to finding out about this group that will help determine how far you go this year?
I mean, I think it's going to be the balance on the offensive side. What I think I'll probably have, five, six, seven different lineups, within the first 4 weeks of season. And patience will be a big part of that. Allowing these players to settle in and feel, especially with the younger girls, and understand what it's about. Schedule wise, I mean, we might have the top four teams in the country on our schedule in the first 4 weeks, between Texas and Tennessee, OU and OSU. So
Pretty good.
uh yeah, we're gonna go at it. And but again, it'd be patience. It's gonna be probably probably need a lot of probably a lot of excitement for these girls because they get to play against their, in-state rivals here. But just really solidifying who's going to be that starting nine is probably what we're going to have to find out over the first 3 4 weeks of season.
That's head coach Crissy Strimple joining us here on In the Circle at D1 Softball. Coach, thanks so much for talking to us. We look forward to it. Good luck. Look forward to seeing you on your team on the field as it gets going during the season here in February before you know it. But in the meantime, thanks for doing this here on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us, and Merry Christmas.